News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moskow.
Karen, we begin with a tense situation in the Middle East. Israel and Iran have been exchanging missile attacks despite calls from President Trump on both sides to stop the fighting. In a wide-ranging interview with NBC's Meet the Press heard Sundays on Bloomberg Radio, the president said he still thinks a deal is possible.
We're very close. We have a couple of points. They don't even seem like big points. They've conceded the fact that they will not have nuclear weapons.
And in a separate interview with the Financial Times, President Trump said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu would have to accept any U.S. deal with Iran, saying, quote, "I call the shots." We get more from Bloomberg's Zabir Abu Omar in Dubai.
The ceasefire, the truce talks have been in a fragile state since the initial ceasefire was reached on April 8th. But what we've seen over the past couple of days really complicates things, right? So what we've seen over on Sunday is Hezbollah in Lebanon and Israel trading fires. Israel had retaliated to an attack by Hezbollah on the northern part of Israel to attacking the southern suburbs of Beirut, killing people and injuring others.
And now Bloomberg's Zabir Abu Omar reports Israeli Army radio saying Iran has fired about 30 missiles at Israel since last night. An Iranian official says the U.S. is responsible for the consequences of any escalation in the Middle East.
And Nathan, there's a new risk of escalation in the Strait of Hormuz. The Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen have declared a ban on Israeli ships in the Red Sea, threatening a key bypass route to the waterway that handles about a fifth of global oil flows. The Houthis previously began attacking ships in 2023 after the outbreak of war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. They've largely sat out the war in Iran, but have repeatedly warned they could close the Bab al-Mandab Strait that leads from the Red Sea to the Indian Ocean.
Well, let's turn now to politics, Karen. There is a new turn in the race for mayor of Los Angeles. Bloomberg's John Tucker joins us with the latest. John.
And Nathan, as more mail-in ballots are counted, Democratic Los Angeles council member Nithya Raman has surged past Republican reality TV personality Spencer Pratt. Raman, who initially trailed Pratt by 8 percentage points, closed the gap as the mail-in ballots were counted over the weekend. And that's a protracted process in California that can drag on for weeks. Raman had 27.1% of the votes counted so far. Pratt, 26.7%. Both are vying to compete in a November 3rd runoff against Mayor Karen Bass, who has 34.7% of the vote. The 44-year-old Raman has favored, among other things, cutting spending on police. Her leftist politics prompted comparisons with Zoran Mamdani, a fellow Democratic socialist who swept a victory as New York's mayor. In New York, I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, John, thank you. California's vote count led to a testy exchange and an abrupt end to President Trump's interview on NBC's Meet the Press. Host Kristen Welker first asked about the so-called anti-weaponization fund at the Justice Department. The president called it a great idea and said he'd been interested in reviving it.
People have been badly hurt. They've committed suicide. They've lost their jobs. They've lost their families. They've lost their wives. They've lost everything. They've lost everything over a fake weaponization of government.
But the conversation took a turn when Welker challenged the president on his claims that the slow vote count in California proves the election was rigged.
Do you think it's appropriate that they have an election and 5 days later they're nowhere close to picking a winner?
State and local officials acknowledge they are slow. They're urging.
No, they're crooked.
They're urging the votes to be counted quickly. That's how they vote in California.
They're crooked, just like you're crooked. Your press is crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked.
President Trump then walked out of the interview, calling ABC, CBS, CNN, and NBC one-sided networks.
Well, tonight, Karen, President Trump's going to be in New York City for Game 3 of the NBA Finals. The extra security means major changes for Knicks fans watching the game inside and outside Madison Square Garden. Bloomberg's John Stashower joins us with more on that. John?
Yeah, Nathan, the watch party outside MSG was scrapped. The NYPD said the decision was made in conjunction with the Secret Service, and there is extra security tonight with the president in attendance. Knicks haven't played at the Garden in 2.5 weeks since May 21st. 2 wins in Cleveland, of course, 2 thrilling wins in San Antonio, and that's why Karl Anthony Towns, the Knicks, bring a 2-0 finals lead to tonight's Game 3.
It's always great when you get to play the game of basketball at its highest level. So to be able to lace the shoes up, be able to put the jersey on, and be able to see our fans see finals basketball after all this time is going to be really, really special.
Tickets said to be going for about $10,000 up high and as close to $100,000 down low. More on Game 3 coming up in sports. John Stashower, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, John. Speaking of security concerns, less than a day before thousands of fans are expected to descend on neighboring Madison Square Garden, 6 people were injured in a stabbing inside New York's Penn Station. A suspect was taken into custody after the attack. Paramedics found 1 victim with serious injuries, 2 with moderate injuries, and 2 with minor injuries. Authorities did not immediately release details about what led to the stabbing or whether the victims were targeted. The sprawling rail complex beneath Madison Square Garden serves Amtrak, Long Island Railroad, NJ Transit, and New York City subway lines and is used by hundreds of thousands of commuters and travelers each day. And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moskow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.